Everybody, it's Lex from PDQ.com. I'm going to take you through the exciting, interesting, adventurous hardware and software audits. Yeah, it's none of those things, but guys, we got to do it. So let's make it as easy as possible. Let's jump in. Now, building reports, we've done this before. We've done a few webcasts in regards to hardware and software audits. So we're going to take this and make it a little more customized. To do that, we need to get some customized data in. So let's start out by getting some information from WMI in regards to, which is a really popular one. If we go to scan collections, I built a Microsoft product key scanner. Now, let's open this up. This is the query. We're looking in SimV2 under root in WMI. Thing to note about this, if you run this without the product key is not null, you're going to get a lot of data you really don't care about. Let me show you. Copy, we'll open the WMI Explorer, we'll connect, go to SimV2, I'll paste the query in there. Notice I took out the where clause. Actually, let me put that in so you see what you're actually going to get. Where, and then we'll take it out. So there's our where clause. This is what it's supposed to look like. Execute it. There's a line, possibly two, of data that really means something. It's enterprise family, the partial product key, okay, and the volume type. Without that where clause, you are going to get, what were we talking, a gigaton?
Gigaton, and then we tried to figure out what giga actually meant, and we found out that we're not smart.
No.
We need Colby. Hey, Colby, what does giga mean?
A billion.
No, there you go.
A billion tons. Well, then we named it correctly. All that information, and it really is not all that pertinent without that where clause. So make sure you have that where clause. I'm going to pop that back up so you guys can see that. If you're doing this at home, go ahead and copy that and make that guy. Now, the nice thing about that is it runs fairly quick. So I am going to go kick that off right here against all our machines. So there's our Microsoft product keys. It's going to run. While that's running, let's also take a look. A lot of the other information that people are looking for is who's using what machine. And for that, we have our PowerShell user profile size scanner that you get from our GitHub. Great thing about that is it's going to pull the profile size, but it's also going to have the profile name so you know who has been using or has been logged into a machine. And let's go kick that one off too. Right click, scan collection, we'll go PowerShell user profile size. Now, to find that data, we're going to go to the WMI first. We'll just open Allen Rails. We'll go down to our WMI queries, and we'll grab our Microsoft keys. And you'll notice I've got two on Allen Rails. I've got the Windows operating system key and then the Office 16 key, which is really what I needed to see, what I wanted to see. And then under PowerShell, I'm assuming this is probably done at this point. User profile size, look at all the people who have logged into Allen Rails.
It's almost like it's an example for a presentation machine.
Yeah, I think it is, or it's just a really promiscuous machine. I don't know. But that data, we now have that data so that we can build some reports off of that. The other thing a lot of people, a lot of customers want is custom fields for their information. So let us just jump in and go to custom fields. Now, I pre-added these because if you've ever watched any of these, if I were to type these, we would be here for 30 minutes watching me type. So we added department, email, location, primary user, and warranty expiration date, which is great, except I don't want to have to go hand type that into all of the machines. So let's run the import wizard. You notice on my desktop right here, I've got my import data, CSV. Again, everything's linked off computer name, so the first field I've got is computer name, and then we'll go map that. So we'll hit the import wizard, we'll select the import data CSV, and it's going to allow me to map that. Primary user, email, department, warranty, and then location. Now the nice thing is if you hit next, it's going to let you know if there's any errors you're going to see or conflicts. I don't have any. It kind of you'll see the data. Let me get that centered for you guys. Right there, Get Swifty, the primary user. Pennywise, his email is kindclown@aol.com. So on and so forth. So the nice thing at this point, I hit finish, and all that data gets imported into these machines. So now I can use that data to build reports for hardware and software audits. One other thing I'd like to show you guys, if you go to help and you go to elevated command prompt, is how to do this with the CLI. If you go to PDQ inventory and run that, we are going to look for the import custom fields and import custom fields. Hit that. It's going to give you an outline of how you need to read that in, so you can actually script that if you're pumping data out on a regular basis to get it imported in using the CLI. Since we already did it, I'm not going to do that for you, but that's how you do it with the CLI. Any thoughts, Jordan, in regards to what I've just shown everybody?
It feels like to me, if it's something you're automating, then the CLI is good to use and you can map it out like that. But if it's a one-time thing, it's just going to be easier to use the wizard a lot without having to manually map each header like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, now that we've got data in here, we've got some scans, so we got some custom data to go after. Let's take a look at our reporting. So I built this really cool subfolder called Audits. Surprise, surprise. I can actually organize stuff. That's a question mark. I can organize stuff?
You are allowed.
Lex will say anything on the teleprompter. So let's just talk about the Microsoft keys. We ran the WMI. Let's go. I'm going to right click and define the report so you can see what we're looking at. We're looking for the computer name, the description, the license family, and the product key. Again, on this one, I had no filters because I just want to see them all the license keys that Microsoft has put out in WMI for you. We'll run that against all computers, and that's what it looks like coming out the gate. You'll notice Allen Rails has got a couple. This I like to, there's a couple of different ways to go about this. I can group by the computer name. Obviously, you've all done this before, and you notice, Allen Rails has got two. It's got Office, it's got Windows. Or the other one you can do, I'm going to clear the grouping, group by the description here, and you can see how many of the different types of license keys you've got out there. So the big one here is our operating system, the KMS. So we've got those. So that's some information obviously you need to know. Again, it's a partial product key, so you should be able to link that back to your keys that you got on file. The other one I like to do is the Microsoft application counts. So let's go take a look at this because we want to see all the applications that are from Microsoft or a vendor in this case. So we'll go to define the report. We're looking for the computer application name and the version. Our filter, we're looking for the publisher contains Microsoft. So we're pulling Microsoft in this case. You could do that for any of the vendors. Then what I did was, now let me copy this because I don't trust myself to not hit save. And that would totally botch this. Control C. And here we go. I'm just going to drop that in a notepad because, Jordan, you've seen me do this before, right? I close the wrong thing and then I lose my stuff.
I've done that often myself.
All right. So this is basically regular expression. I'll show you that in a second. We'll get rid of that and we'll run this. And you'll notice I have grouped this by application name. Again, all I did was go here, group, application name. And I've got local admin password. We don't need a license. That's part of it. .NET Core, ODBC, a bunch of stuff I don't care about. So what I did a couple of weeks ago, we did regular expressions. I still have regular expressions on the mind. I went and made a very nice, right here, list of all the ones I don't care to see. So again, this is going to be starts with Microsoft Visual C, OneDrive, local admin password. So let me just, cancel. Let's close this without saving it, and then we'll reopen it, and you can see what it looks like when it runs. Let's verify that's still there. Okay, there it is. So it starts with these things. These are the ones, and it does not match the expression. So we'll run this now, and this breaks it down to stuff I care about. Office, SQL Server, Visual Studio, so on and so forth. Again, this is a way to get counts of things that you're gonna need to make sure you've got licensing for, pay for. Now that's not the extent of obviously there's more to that, but again, just understand that regular expression I showed you. You'll be able to do it. I did the same thing by department, just so you can bill your departments. Again, that department we imported. So the exact same report, except for this time, we're putting the department in there. We're going to run that. There it is. And now you group by department, and you can go and let everybody know, IT department has got Office, Team Machine, SQL Server, Visual Studio Code that, need to be licensed, so you can associate those with departments. Again, getting that information in and associated with the computer is very, very helpful. Do we have any questions at this point? No questions. All right. You guys, questions help me make this a little more exciting, I think. Hopefully. All right, let's talk hardware types. So, again, I've pre-built these reports because you guys, these are reports that are pretty easy to see. So all the computer information, we're pulling the name, the OS, manufacturer, and memory. Run this, and there's each machine with the manufacturers. Again, if you're purchasing machines, it's nice to know how many of each you've got. So the majority of mine come from the VMware Inc. manufacturer. Surprise, surprise. Bunch of VMs in our lab here. System manufacturer. What this will allow you to do is you've got counts, and then again, you can run this by department, which we'll just kick off right there, so that you can, one, let the departments know what they've got coming up that may, need to be replaced with that. But again, departments, these are all the breakdowns of the hardware in each of the departments. So, and I put the primary user in there, so, and yeah. Squatchy, Sarah Connor, DeHammer. Who's Gob Bluth?
That is Job Bluth. He's an illusionist.
You don't spell Job with a G.
He is an illusionist, and he's a big fan of making banners.
Did you put that in my list, didn't you?
I did, yep.
Thanks, man. Anything else?
I'm so glad you said gob.
He's taking part of the joke and doesn't even realize it.
You've made a huge mistake.
Did I? I hate you guys. Let's move on.
Moving on.
All right, and last, we put expiring warranties in, and again, this is helpful for any time you need to do, obviously, budgeting for next year. So the definition of this report is we want computer name, department, warranty expiration date, and the filter I put in was the warranty expires between the 1st of 2020 and the last day of 2020. So these are all the machines by department that are going to be replaced. So if you, again, group by your departments, you can see IT has got 12 machines that are going to need to be replaced if you replace them when the warranty goes out. So again, a lot of this stuff is to make it easy for you to justify your budgets, okay? And the nice thing is you get a nice big large budget and you buy some bargain machines and you can get yourself something cool.
Or another advantage, if you're an IT department where you bill out the other departments for the use of the equipment, so instead of looking like the black hole of budget, it's it's a good way you can say, hey, your department owes. It's all funny money, but it makes it so IT is not a black hole.
Funny money?
Yeah.
So it's just shifting of the cost around.
Yeah, well, without it, everyone just thinks that IT is just a container where all expenses
Cost center, yeah, that's a good point.
So with this one, everyone sees what they're actually paying for. It makes it better perception among the people that cut the checks.
Yeah, fair enough. Lastly, let's talk about, and this one is a good one for two reasons. One, it's a report that's going to give you good information. I call it critical disk space. This is nothing new. We've shown you guys before. Basically, I'm looking for machines that have local disk space less than 20%. So we know that they're running out of disk space. Computer name, I put email in there. Let's go add, we'll just leave it the way it is. Email, the device, so you get the drive letter, run it like this. And so right now I've got 3 machines. Emails, we've got Kind Clown, I think that's Pennywise, Nick Minaj, and Gluteus Maximus all have machines that need some, I just said that. All have machines that need to get some disk space cleaned up. Ultimately, I don't want to see that often. I mean, it needs to be run frequently, but I don't want to read it unless there's data in there. And honestly, I want the end users to take care of it. So I'm going to automate this. We're going to, first of all, we're going to go do a auto report. It's a new auto report. Oh, I guess 2 things we got to do. We got to get the disk space. So So first, let's go do a new scan profile that just runs disk space. So new scan profile, we'll call it critical disk. And the reason I'm breaking this out, I don't want to run a standard scan every night, but I want this information every night. So I want a quick disk check, and we're going to run just disks. Triggers, we'll run this daily at, and timing matters on this. I'm going to do this at 8 p.m. because we're going to produce the report a couple hours later, so it has time to get through and get that data every day. So we'll give that an OK, and so this is going to run every day at 8 p.m. Now I'm going to build that auto report. We'll call this critical disk also. Man, you figure I'd eventually get good at typing. I've just accepted the fact I suck.
We are living proof that practice does not make perfect.
That is true. Well, let's pause on the path and let's do a couple of questions, actually.
Dear Lex, regarding low disk space, can you configure alerts for this? Sincerely, Reggie D.
Reggie, I love you. I hope you win the swag. Great question. We're actually doing that right now, man. We'll keep going. Do we got another question? Or should I just finish where I'm at and then take the question?
Let's just finish that one up so we can kind of showcase.
Okay, so let's finish. Okay, so this is what we're doing. You build the scanner. Okay, we're going to do the auto report path. Now, it matters if you're going to automate this where you put this. I think Jordan, after I'm done with this, is going to show you how to PowerShell this bad boy. So I think you want it on the C drive in the disk space folder.
If not, I'll change it in my script.
Oh, no, you want it there. That's where you want it.
Okay.
File name, we're just going to give it the report name. It needs to be a CSV, and then we do need to overwrite this. And here is the disk space folder. I'm going to give this, almost give it an OK. You do need to select the critical disk space. All right. Oh, it's under audits. Whew. I almost lost that. Critical disk space report. Give it an OK. I'm like, I know it's there. I didn't delete it. And then I always like to run this once to verify it's actually going to produce what we're expecting. There it is, critical disk space. Came out right now. Let's just take a look. Abba Kind Clown, Nikki M at Musically, and then the other one. So there it is. There's critical disk space. Jordan's going to show you how to automate that with PowerShell. Do we want to take that other question before he automates?
Hey Lex, are we going to have these reports and scanners available anywhere, such as the bonus content repo on GitHub, something like that? Just kind of a general question.
You know, I'll export them and give them to Colby. Can we get them out there?
Yep.
All right.
We do have a repo designed for additional content for the stuff, right?
Excellent. You can have the reports. Just make sure, you're verifying. They're all referencing. A lot of them are referencing those custom fields I put in. So, yeah, we'll get those out for you. Jordan, you want to do PowerShell magic now,
Let's
buddy?
do it. I like the magic fingers there.
It is kind of magical. Don't eat my Hot Pocket.
Do what I want. I am an adult. Hello, I'm here because it's time to talk PowerShell. So I believe it was Reggie that asked the question. The issue we run in sometimes with these reports is we don't have within our product a way that says even if there's no results, don't let me know. It's just going to run that report. So I kind of worked out a way to handle on two fronts. It gives 5 days where it alerts the user that they're running out of space, let them fix it, and then after the 5th day, it'll alert administrator. I think my first iteration after the 5th day, it would just format their hard drive, but I was told that that's a little too aggressive.
It's like Cobra Kai IT. Strike
Yeah.
first, no mercy.
All right, so if we go into the PowerShell, you can see I've actually been testing this live. We have here, the first thing we have is we're importing the report that we ran right there. And then we're importing this other report that does not exist. Best practice is instead of having just import, I should have a test path, see if it exists. If not, then create it. I didn't do that because it makes Colby's eyelid twitch and I'm amused by his discomfort.
Time out. I thought you were channeling your inner lazy.
I do channel my inner lazy, but this one's at a benefit. I get to be lazy and Colby gets upset.
I love it.
It's win on all fronts. So the best practices there is just test path, and if it doesn't exist, then build it. The way it is now, the first time I run it, it's going to build it at the end, but it is going to throw up an error basically saying, hey, that doesn't exist, which isn't what you want. It doesn't break it. Don't be me, be better. All right, after that, it builds a blank array where it adds the currently unexisted report right there.
Unexisted?
Well, it doesn't exist yet because I haven't run the script.
Oh, okay.
All right, and then from that, then it creates a remove list that basically says if they're on the days on report but not the critical disk, that means stuff was cleared up, so it will remove them from your side automatically. All right, and then from there, if there is a name on the out of space list that's not on the new list array that we just filled out, then it adds it, and we're here, new object with the property, and it's grabbing the computer name. It sets the default days to 5, and then it will count down from there.
So you're expecting the
And then
end
email.
users to be responsible for themselves?
I give them 5 days to do the responsible thing before we have to.
The wrath of Jordan?
You know what? Even if 1 in 100 cleans it up on their own, that's a big win.
It's a big one.
That's a big win. All right. So if it does already exist on the list, then all it does is it removes a day from the list and counts down. All right, and then let's see. I think I missed something there. All right, and then at the end, it takes what's in the new list after the removal and the countdown, and it exports that into the CSV we're talking about, the days on report. It exports it there. Because none of the emails in our report aren't there, I didn't write an actual email line. I just did write host where it says email user or email admin. If you want to do it, it's just send mail. You specify who you're sending it to, which is why at the top here, when we were building out the array, we grabbed the email, and that's why the email was included in the report. If you have like the default user but not the email, you could do like a calculated property where within there it does a AD search and grabs the email attribute from Active Directory, and you can still put it in there. With AD searches, by default, not all the properties show up. Email's one that doesn't, so if you're looking for email, you want to specify it's get AD user, pipe in that name, and then properties email. Otherwise, it's not even going to see it. It's not the only PowerShell I know of that does that, where you have to specify properties. But once you get used to it, it goes pretty smooth. And then, basically, if the number is greater than 0, so the 5 days, it emails them every day. And then on the 5th day, you can set it to email the administrator. If you'd like, if you want to get fancy, you can take the results, which is in a format, and you can convert it to HTML, make a pretty table. Maybe
a little heart on
maybe,
there.
maybe a heart around there.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell you how to communicate with your end users. All right, so we're going to run this without the proper test for the folder, and so we can see the error there. Oh, this is an unsigned script, so we're going to highlight it and press F8.
Walk around.
But at some point, I'm going to go in and remove the execution policy because for our cases, we don't need that. All right, and you can see here, it added the names from the computer, and then it tells you here, this is where it would be actually sending the email. So if we go to the disk space, we have days on report, where apparently I didn't delete this like I thought I did. So CorrectUbut is at -1. That means it's been 6 days. Went to the admin, you didn't do anything with it. Come on. All right, so if we come in here, now that it went to you, you fixed it up. So actually, we deleted that from the wrong spot. We're going to go into Lex's report. Next day it runs. You have cleared out CorrectUbot, I apologize. I'm going to save that. We don't want that blank line. All right, and then we're going to come through and run it again. Oh, I got to highlight it all in F8. Really need to fix execution policy. And you can see here it removes CorrectUbot for you. Oop, that is a bad line. And then it continues the countdown for Kind Clown and Nikki M. So it's just kind of a way, if there's nothing in the report, it'll remove that from you. You'll never see it. The whole countdown 5 days, that's not necessary. That's just because I'd rather not have to call people. I'm not in computers to talk to people on the phone.
Yeah.
I love that Pennywise the Clown uses AOL, just saying.
It's probably what led him to his life of sewer living.
We do have a few questions if you guys want to take any.
All right, let's take a question.
Hey, Jordan, can you create a report to see which thin clients connect to the remote desktop service that uses an Office title? The thin clients do run Windows platform. Thanks, T.
So, off the top of my head, I don't know how to differentiate between thin or thick client or anything like that. I can say if you're using VMware, their tool set is very robust. They probably have the tools in there. What a PowerCLI, I believe they call that one. That one it probably has it in there where you can look it up. If it's not VMware, if it's the Windows version, since it's built with Windows, there's going to be PowerShell command list. I'm not familiar enough to know those commands off the top of my head. If you'd like, I can do some research on that and see if I can find something on that one. I just don't know off the top of my head how to differentiate between thin client and not thin client. All right. Other question, or should we move on? Okay.
Dear Jordan, I have a report and auto report configured to grab TeamViewer IDs. When I import the CSV back into inventory as a custom field to display that ID, is there a way to automate the import process? JGJ Aquino.
So as we saw, the wizard is kind of a one-off, but it works great. If it is something you're looking to automate, since it's a one-time thing, you could use either command line or PowerShell where you're calling up the command line where you can specify PDQ inventory, the import custom fields, and then you do just have to go through and map the headers so they match up. But once you have that line saved, if it's going to be the same every time, you can just have that on a schedule and it will import based on whatever file is there. If you put a blank file in there, I think it might override everything. Well, no, because there's no computer names if it's blank, so yeah, you should be fine. All right. So I guess just another option for PowerShell. I guess I kind of hear our product does a lot, but there's always enhancements PowerShell can add. So one of the ones is Lex went over grabbing the license type, and we have a scan profile that just kind of shows a way to do that in PowerShell instead of doing a WMI scan. You get very similar results. I like PowerShell more.
You're trying to say it's better?
Hands down.
Oh, okay.
It's not even a competition. All right, so this one, all we're doing is we're running the SL Manager VBS script. By default, that pops up a window that does us no good. It's just so we're doing the C script with some attributes there that makes it print out in text. And then from text, we're going to do regex, where we're coming in here and we're...
You don't need no fancy pants pop-up is what you're saying?
Well, we can't do anything with a pop-up.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd have to go and actually grab the pop-up object, and it's much simpler to get it in text in this case. And then right here, you separate out the license capture. Full disclosure, KMS client and MAK, I have tested. We have those here. OEM is my best guess. I don't know if that actually is OEM as the third for the switch. So if you know you use OEM, run this once on one of those machines, just the SL Manager VBS script, and if what's in there is OEM, fantastic, it's good to go. If it's not OEM, you're gonna have to change that part right there to match whatever is in there, and then it just returns information in the PowerShell scanner that you can grab from there. All right, and I guess the last thing with PowerShell that we wanted to go over is people plugging in phones and USB drives in your computer. First option, as always, group policy. If you don't want USB drives or phones, group policy will block that. If for some reason you don't have access or the person over group policy hates security, we have a way to kind of dive into that to grab a little bit of information. My wife pointed out I talk out with my hands a lot, and now I notice it. I can't.
Every time you do something.
Every time. All right. So the issue with specifying a thumb drive is there's not always a unique identifier information, especially not that you can count for. It might have a friendly name, but how do you know what your user's plugging in? So there's a way you can grab all your drives that have the PS provider, so get PS drive of the driver of the provider file system, where the name is not C. If your default drive is D or whatever you change it to C, just change that. And this will grab every drive that it recognizes with the file system provider type, which could be, I'm not sure on mapped drives, but it could be just like a alternate drive or just a storage drive or a USB. So this will let you know if there are drives that aren't just the C, but you're still going to have to do some research on if it is a thumb drive or not. But with that down here with this get item property, if someone does plug in a USB drive into a machine, it is stored on registry as a history. It doesn't mean it's actively there, but it has been there. So if you do a get item property, and this could just be a PowerShell scanner, we're looking under this one here, system, current control set, enum, and then we are selecting just the friendly name, and that will pull up a list of every USB drive that has been plugged into that system, but not necessarily active. So if you see a bunch of drives on the first one, the Get PS drive, and you see the friendly name there on their plugged in, it's probably a safe bet that you have something you can act on there. It's hard to automate where it can be, the information back can be so varied.
So that's a history. I didn't know Windows machines actually kept history of all the USBs that have
Oh yeah, I stumbled on that while I was researching this. I had no idea. It was a nice find. I was excited to see it. I thought that was pretty useful, but I can't claim that that's something I just knew. That's just something that kind of fell in my lap there. So the last thing is phones, where instead of doing get PS drive, we're doing get PNP device, the plug and play device. The reason we're not doing this one for USB is that's going to tell you devices that are plugged in, period. So your keyboard, mouse.
to get the bus on that
The
too.
main bus, yeah. All of that is going to be under class USB. But if a phone's plugged in, at least with an Android phone, I tested on Android. I don't have an iPhone. I assume it's the same. But that's one. If you have an iPhone, I would test that first. Just know when you plug that in, it's not going to show up on the plug and play device right away. It takes 15 seconds, so just give it some time. Then run the Get PNP device, and that will come back. When I ran this on my machine, the only device that found was my phone. So that one, it's a lot easier to tell if someone has a phone plugged in than a USB drive. And that's probably, we probably really don't want that. They can charge their phones through an outlet. They don't need to have that kind of access to your computer. But that's pretty much it for PowerShell. It's just kind of a way PowerShell can supplement our product to help you audit what's going on in your environment there. All right, let's go to the questions.
Hey, Jordan, my schedule in Deploy runs one package every week on some targets. Next week, it only runs for targets that successfully ran the package the previous week. And week after week, it deploys the package for fewer and fewer targets. How do I make it deploy the package for all targets every run? Sincerely, Max C.
It's interesting that it stops for ones that, is it stop for ones that are successful on or ones that it was not successful on? Because in deploy, if you're
doing a schedule, right, you would normally
there's a checkbox that says don't
Stop.
deploy to this if it was successful,
Yeah,
but I've
stop.
never seen the reverse.
Because this one, it says it runs for targets that successfully ran the package the previous week. Interesting.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
we have something specifically calling out if it was successful. It's just a checkbox in there that you can remove that basically says keep deploying to this one. Where it's only continuing to ones that were successful before, that's something I haven't seen. That you might want to open up a ticket with our support and let them take a look at that one, because that is not expected behavior that I can think of.
Now, if that box is checked and you want it to run on everybody every week, just take that checkbox out and it will run
On everyone, yep.
on all the machines that are obviously connected.
It looks like they clarified in chat that it is for the targets that failed to run.
Okay, all right. So if we're going to come in here and do a new schedule options right here, this stop deploying targets once they succeed, uncheck that. And then without that being checked, that's going to send every time, every week. All right, you said we had one more question?
So here's the interesting thing about this question. It has actually also been submitted to our support team, and they responded. So, Jay, take a look at your response here. But it says, I've submitted a ticket regarding an issue where the display scanner truncates the serial number. Also, it is only able to scan the serial number, not the service tag. May I know how to make it scan the service tag of the display? I actually have the response from our support team. Would you like that?
Absolutely, because I was not going to have an answer.
So Andrew in our solutions team says, I did some digging in WMI Explorer to find service tags for peripherals, and those are not written to the OS at all. Because Windows is unable to determine that info, we most likely will not be able to scan for those. In the meantime, you could use custom fields to manually populate that data for each PC. I get a point.
All right.
I have to share it with Andrew, but at least I get half a point.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is if it's Dell and you are set up with their program, but then you actually have to have the service tag to be able to search information on the machine. So that's, never mind. If you already have the service tag, I'm sure Dell would be super handy there. All right. Any more questions? Okay, fantastic. Hopefully this helps you guys with your audits. There's nothing worse than trying to figure out what you owe at the end of the year when it's all jumbled. Especially with Microsoft, I think it's that difficult on purpose. They just want to get you. But I think if you would something together like this, where you would put in that effort, they're probably going to give you a lot more slack and leeway and help you out with that one. So I guess other camera. All right. Thanks for tuning in. This should be everything you need. If you have any questions, send them to support. I guess we'll see you next week. I'm Sexy McBritches.
Yes, you are. Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Reggie D. and Max C., winners of PDQ swag. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. Thanks again for joining us. Stay safe, and we'll see you back here next week.